Good evening, everybody. Let's start with the next topic for discussion. And the next topic for discussion that we plan to start off today is concept of arrays. Uh, let's understand why do we have to go in for concept of arrays and how arrays are implemented or how do we use arrays in C language is what we'll discuss for today. A very important topic, arrays. So today's topic for discussion, arrays in C language. Now, the first and foremost question that should come to our mind is, why should we bother or why should we know about this concept called as arrays? Handling multiple variables is difficult and they also increase the size of the code. How is that? Let's take a simple example. Say I have one integer variable, and if I ask you to perform the most basic operation on that integer variable, say there's an integer variable I that you have defined, int I equal to 0 is what you have created. And I ask you to perform the most simplest operation. What could be the simplest operation that you could ever perform on a variable of basic type? I ask you, why not accept a value at runtime and display the value of that variable? Now, if you have to accept a value and then you have to display that particular value, you'll have to write two statements. One is three statements rather. You'll have to prompt the user saying printf, please enter the value, then scanf, %a, ampersand of I, and then printf, so and so. So at least two statements, one scanf and one printf is what we'll have to do to carry out that operation. Fine. There was only one variable. Now let's take a scenario. There are 10 variables and I tell you, accept first variable's value, display it, accept second variable's value, display it. Likewise, do it for 10 variables. Now it's a very common operation that I'm asking you to carry out. Accept 10 variables and display their values. Now for that, you will have to end up writing 20 statements because you accept first variable's value and then display it. You accept second variable's value and then display it. These are different variables. I may require all those variables at some other location purpose later. So it's not like one variable in a loop you will go ahead accepting. That's not the case. We are having different variables. And all those variables, I have to accept different values and store them. And I want those values later in the program somewhere. So even for the most basic operation like accepting and displaying, you will end up writing a lot of code. So your program size is unnecessarily going to increase. So suppose if I had created 10 variables, variables of type score 0, score 1, named score 1. So I'll have to first read all those variables, then do whatever processing I would like to perform in that particular variable. After that, I go on to print those variables. So forget about the processing task that we have done. Even accepting and displaying will take about those 20 different statements that you'll have to write. So handling multiple variables is always difficult. It looks very simple. As long as there are 2-3 variables, you can very well write multiple statements to handle those 2-3 variables. But as the number of variables goes on increasing, it becomes very, very difficult for us to handle that group of variables. Now think out a function. I ask you to write a function to add two integers. What do you do? You may say int add int comma int. That means this function add is going to return a value of type integer. You're going to pass two integers. Fine. But if I tell you write a function add which gives you addition of 100 integers, that means you will have to design a function called as add, and the number of parameters that you will be having are 100 parameters that you will have. Now even to write that particular function, forget about writing, even to call that particular function would be a tedious task, whether you have passed correct number of variables or not. And then I say write one function which takes 100 arguments, and write another function add which takes in 50 arguments, and write one more function add which takes in 25 arguments, 25 variables as an argument. You have to write 3 different functions. For different number of variables, you'll have to write different functions. And that's not possible in C language. You cannot have multiple functions with the same name in C language. That's not C++, where overloading is possible. So you cannot even have multiple functions. So you'll have to write one function, add 25 integers, another function, add 50 integers, another function, add 100 integers. Names will have to be different. You cannot even use the same name for multiple functions. So if I want to pass set of variables to a function, it's very, very difficult. Passing 1 or 2 values to a function was very easy. But if number of values have to be passed to a function, that's very, very complex. Handling set of variables is slow, even if the address, even using address as they are stored at discrete memory location. So you decide, while I'm passing that variable, I'll pass that variable by reference. I'll pass its address. Address I'll receive in a pointer, because using pointer I can have fast access. And if there are 100 variables stored at 100 different locations, you'll have to pass 100 different addresses, and using 100 different addresses, you'll now go pointer variables. You're going to dereference that particular variable. That's again going to be very, very time consuming. So we want some better alternatives to this particular problem. Returning more than one variable from a function is not possible. So when we design a function, your function can have a return type and only one return type. So if I say int add int, that means this function can return only one integer. Rather, a function cannot return more than one values. A function can return only a single value. So if I tell you I want a function which returns 5 values, not possible. You cannot design a function which returns 5 values. Even if they are of same type, that's not possible. So we have many such problems that we are coming across. Handling multiple variables is difficult. Passing number of variables to a function is very difficult. You cannot return more than one values from a function. Even if I pass those values by references, but to receive each of that reference, I will have to create a pointer, and working with pointer is going to be all the more difficult. Solution for all these questions is concept of arrays. Not that we have not used the arrays in our program. Somewhere here and there I have directly used this arrays, but we never discussed it in detail. Now it's time for us to explore this particular concept in quite a detail. What are arrays? It is a collection of similar type of variables. So it's a homogeneous collection. Homogeneous, that's very important. I cannot have a collection in which one is integer, other is float, and third is of type double. Such kind of collection I cannot have. It's a homogeneous collection. All the variables which I have clubbed together, all of them are the same type. And plus, they are stored in contiguous memory location. That means, say there is a one character variable. The first character variable, assume it is stored at address 401. The next will be at the next location, 402. The next will be at the next location, 403, and so on. So they are all stored in contiguous location. So there is no such thing like one variable at 400, another variable at 500, another variable at 600. That kind of thing will not happen. All these variables are stored in contiguous memory location, no gaps in between. Beyond that, if I define 5 variables, I cannot have those 5 variables having same name. Each other variable have to be given a different name. But I want to have a group of variables, and the entire group of variable has to be referred to by only a single name. If this is what you plan to do, you have concept of arrays. So it's collection of similar type of variables. All variables are of same type. It's homogeneous collection. All elements are stored in contiguous location. Contiguous means there are no gaps in between, just one after another, depending what type of data it is. Say it's a character variable. So after the first character variable, you'll have second. After second, you'll have third. After third, you'll have fourth, and so on. Point is, there are no in-between gaps. Say if I was talking integer variable, if the first integer variable is stored at address 400, the next will be at 403 because 400, 401, 402, and 403. 4 bytes. So next will be at 404. Next will be at 408. No gaps in between the two variables. So when we talk about derived types, there are various derived types. Function type we have seen. Array type is what we are discussing. After arrays, I'll go ahead with concept of pointers, structures, unions, enumeration, and this could be end of our C course as well. So there are different derived types we are going to look at. One derived type that we'll explore today is a concept of array type. What we are going to look at today is a concept of single dimension array. Now let's see as to how single dimension arrays are created. Let's see how single dimension arrays are created. What's the syntax for that? We say date type space array name size, wherein date type is compulsory, array name is compulsory, size is also compulsory. But note, I have used that size in capital. And remember, only constants are defined in capital. So it's always a good practice. So I'm going to have a constant over here. Name constant is a best practice. I can have literal also, value as well. But we avoid doing that. We rather give a name constant. So I say date type, array name, size. What does the date type specify? What does this array name specify? What does this size specify? Let's try and understand. This date type tells us if array is group of variables, what is the data type of those variables? Say if I say int a of 5, that means all those 5 variables are of type integer. If I say char array name, that means all the variables which will be there inside that array are of type character. If I say float over here, then that entire group of variables is of type float. Arrays are collection of elements. All elements are of same type. So this data type specifies what is the type of elements that will be clubbed together inside that particular array. So data type tells us what is the type of data that will be grouped together inside that array. Array name is just an identifier, like we say char ch. So ch was an identifier that identifies that block on memory where that character variable is stored. So if I create an array, it is going to store somewhere in the array. That entire group of variables will be referred to by a single name. It's just an identifier that will identify the location in the memory where that array has been stored. It's just an identifier, nothing more than that. It's just a name given to a location in the memory. It's just an identifier. So array name can be any legal identifier. Now, when I use the word legal identifier, remember when we discussed concept of variables, we talked about naming conventions. That means it should not be same as keyword. It should not contain embedded spaces. It shouldn't begin with a digit. All those common thing that we had discussed, same thing are applicable for this array name also. They are identifiers. So whatever the rules for identifiers, those rules are applicable for array names as well. So it's just an array name. size is a constant. So here I can specify 10, 20, 30, but that's not a good practice. We normally use a named constant over here. It's a constant which specifies number of elements which are grouped together inside the array. Now to understand this, let's take an example. If I say date type array name 5, so what is this ARR? ARR is name of given to this group of variables. How many variables are there inside this group? If I had used number 5 here, that means there are 5 variables inside this group. What is the date type of all those elements? Whatever you may have specified. If I had said int, each of these variables is of type int. If I had said char, these are a group of 5 character variables. Had I said float, it's a group of 5 float variables, and so on. So this data type specifies what is the data type of each of these variables. This number specifies how many variables, such variables are clubbed together inside this array. And this ARR is nothing but name given to that particular group. Name given to the group. Now, again coming back to this, if the first variable is stored at address 400, next will be at which location? Depends on the date type. If date type is char, so if the first is at 400, next will be at 401. If date type is int, the first one is at 400, the next will be at 404. Because there are no gaps in between. There are no gaps in between. All elements are stored in contiguous memory location. So let's take some examples. So if I say int scores of 9. So when I say int score of 9, we have created a group of 9 variables of type integer. These are 9 variables of type integer. All of them have been stored in contiguous memory location, one after another. How much memory is allocated? 9 into 4. 36 bytes of memory will be allocated. They are all stored in contiguous memory location. And this entire group of variables is given a name as score. But each of these variables is of what type? Each of these variables is of type integer. Had I said char name of 10, char means it's a collection of character type of variable. How many such variables? 10 such variables. And the entire group of 10 variables is now given a name as name. If I had said float GPA of 40, what would happen in that case? We have created a group of 40 variables. We have created a group of 40 variables. What is the type of each of the variable? Float. What's the name given to that group of 40 variables? GPA. That's how you declare or define an array. But point is, how do you access elements in an array? I create a group of n number of variables, say group of 5 variables, but I'm not interested in that group. I'm rather interested in every element which is present inside the group. So what I need to have is an access to the individual element which make up my array. So if you want to have an access to individual element of an array, we have one concept, and that concept is of type subscript. So to access individual elements of an array name followed by subscript are used. So we're going to use concept of subscript to access the element inside the array. But what is subscript? Subscript is nothing but the position of the element inside that particular array. What is the syntax? Array name, then the square brackets, and inside the square bracket we pass the subscript. This subscript signifies the position of the element inside the array. So if I have a group of 5 variables, so the position of the first element is 0, next is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So subscript will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The subscript of the first element in the array is assumed to be 0. And the subscript of the first element in the array is called as lower bound of an array. So lower bound of an array in C is always 0. The first element we'll see is at position number 0. Second is at position number 1. So fifth is at position number 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing. Subscript of the last element in the array is always size minus 1. So if the array was of size 5, the first element at the 0th position, the fifth element will be at the 4th position. So upper bound of an array, that is the subscript of the last element in the array, is always size minus 1, where size was the number of elements which are present inside that array. Let's have a look at this. If I say date type array name 5, date type could have been any type. It could be int, it could be float, it could be char, it could be double, it can be user defined type, structure, union, enumeration, whatever it is. Point is, this is some date type. So let it be whatever type. So if it is integer, 5 variables are of type integer. If it is character, 5 variables are of type character. So we have created a group of variables. But these variables, the entire group is given a name called as array. You could have given any other name, but I have given a name called as array. So in that case, if I'm in, and every element inside this group will have a subscript. The first element has a subscript as 0, second has 1, third has 2, fourth has 3, fifth has 4. So subscript of the first element, if this is my first element, subscript of the first element is 0, and if this is the last element, it is 4. But the size of the array was 5. So subscript of the last element is size minus 1, that is 4. Size was 5, so subscript is here is 4. So I wanted to have value that is stored inside this variable. I am not interested in the entire group. or rather I'm interested in individual element from this array. So I say array subscript operator 0. So when I say array of 0, that means I'm talking about the value of the first element inside this array. If I say array of 2, I'm talking about value of the third element inside this array. If I say array of 4, I'm talking about value of the fourth element inside this particular array. So what we have created over here is a group of 5 variables. I'm not talking about the date type. It could have been anything. Each element inside this array is of same type. All of them are homogeneous collection. Look, every variable is of same size. It's a homogeneous collection. Every element has a subscript. Subscript indicates the position of the element inside that array. This is the first element, this second element, third element, fourth element, fifth element, and so on. Lower bound of an array in C is 0, whereas upper bound is size minus 1. So lower bound of an array in C is 0, whereas upper bound is size minus 1. Size is 5, so it is 4. So that's how you go ahead accessing individual element of an array. So let's talk about how do you handle integer arrays. Now what is true for integer array is true for all other arrays also. So I'm just going to discuss for integer arrays. Same will be the case for character arrays. I'll take example of character array separately, but same will be the case for any other type of array. So if I say int array of 5, so I'm saying it's a group of 5 variables. The entire group is given a name as array. It's a group of 5 variables of what type? Int type. So array is a group of 5 variables of type integer. Say if suppose this statement was written inside some function. Normally we define variables. We do not define global variables. We define variables inside the block. So if I say int I semicolon, so value of that variable would be garbage. If I say int I, it will have value as garbage. So likewise, if I define this array within a block scope, so every element inside this array will also have a garbage value. So what I'm saying over here is a garbage value. But since we said int array of 5, so we are saying it's a group of 5 variables of type integer. So after the first variable, we have second ke baad third ke baad fourth, and fourth ke baad fifth element, and so on. If the first variable was stored at address 500, next year 504, next year 508, then 512, then 516, and so on. What do you see over here? There is a gap of only 4 bytes. So there is no gap between these two variables. They are stored in contiguous memory location. They are all stored in contiguous memory location. For some reason, I wanted to have value of the first variable. I can give array name followed by subscript 0. If I wanted to have value of the second, fourth, fifth element, I can say array of 4. That will give me the value of the fifth element. Array, this was to read. But if I have to store the value, that to runtime, scanf requires address. So if I want to have an address, I can very well say ampersand of AR of 2. So AR of 2 would have given me this value. Currently it is garbage. It is garbage because we have not initialized that array. So currently it is garbage. But if I want to have the address of the variable, I will say ampersand array of 2. So like if I have an integer variable and I want address of that integer variable, we say ampersand integer I. So I say ampersand of I. So likewise, if I'm talking about this array, if I say array of 2, if I say ampersand array of 2, that means it's a group of 5 variables. I'm trying to access the second variable, but not the value, it's garbage, it's address. So address is 508. And what is the GV? I said it's a garbage value. What do you mean by garbage value? Garbage value means unpredictable. Why can't you predict array? Because you have not stored anything inside an array. So that's we had seen last time with automatic storage class variable. If I create a variable of I type automatic and we had created some variable int var inside a function, if you printed that value, sometime we got 0, sometime we got -3274, something like that. So garbage, when I use the word called as garbage, it means it is unpredictable. You cannot tell what's the value that is stored inside this particular variable. So we have a group of 5 variables. All these variables have been initialized. All these variables have been allocated memory in contiguous location. What is stored inside it, nobody in the world can predict. Provided this was defined in the block scope. Had it been defined at the file scope, then it will have value 0. It becomes the global variables. Remember, global variables are always initialized with value 0. But assuming that this is inside a block, inside some function, so in that case, they will all have garbage value. Garbage is nothing but unpredictable. You or me, nobody in the world can predict what value we will get. Why can't we predict? Because we do not know where will the memory be allocated for this particular array. So garbage is nothing but unpredictable value because we never know where memory is allocated for this. And wherever the memory is allocated, that area already had some value. So that becomes the value of your array. So we cannot predict it. It is uninitialized. It's as good as saying int a, semicolon, and printf %a. You will get a garbage value. So is the case with this array as well. I'll be demonstrating how this garbage value will come in. But this is how you create an array. But creating an array, having garbage value, not a very good idea. So you could always initialize this array. So what you could do, you could say int array of 5. So I'm saying I have a group of 5 variables of type integer, and this entire group is given a name as array. And I have also given set of initializers. And since I'm having a set, I use this curly braces. I say 5, 2, 14, 16, 8. That means 5 will initialize the first variable, 2 will initialize the second variable, 14 will initialize the third variable, 16 will initialize the fourth variable, 8 will initialize the fifth variable. All elements inside this array have been initialized. You can draw parallel between normal variables also. If I say int I, garbage value. If I say int I equal to 10, that means you have initialized that particular variable I with value as 10. And if you can initialize integer variable, a single variable, you can initialize this group of variables as well. So we have, instead of single variable of type integer, we have group of 5 variables of type integer. And these are nothing but set of initializers. Each element inside the set will initialize corresponding element inside this particular array. First element first, second one second, third one third, fourth with fourth, and fifth with fifth, and so on. All elements inside this array will get initialized. That was not a very good idea. I am always against using magic numbers. I never allow anybody to use this magic number, 5, 10, 6. It doesn't sound very good. If you have a context, that means the purpose for which this array has been created. Currently, we don't have any context. So I'm using the word size. So I have defined a constant saying hash define size as 5. So this gives this number 5 a name. So I'm going to say int array of size. So what is the value of size? That would be the array size. But then this is also not so very explanatory, because when I'm saying size, okay, I understood it's a size. Size ka value is 5. I understood that. Let's take an example. I wanted to store marks of 10 students. Integers, marks of 10 students. So I could have said int marks of 5, marks of 10. But what is that 10 signifying? Is it signifying marks of a student in 10 subject? Or is it signifying marks of 10 students in one subject? One student's marks in 10 subjects, or 10 students marks in one subject. If I had given a name to this particular constant saying number of students, I had said hash define number of students 10. And if I define array int array number of students, it becomes very clear for a person to read. That means it's not just about allocation memory. Your code should also be readable. So it will immediately become readable for a person. He'll understand you're trying to create an array in which you plan to store marks of 10 students, because we define an array saying int marks number of students. So here we'll say hash define number of students 5. So if I say int array marks number of students, the statement becomes clear. I'm trying to store marks of 10 students. I'm trying to store marks of number of students, and so on. So always use name constant whenever you are aware of the context for what purpose you're going to use that array. Now, if you do not know the context, then you cannot use a name. But normally we'll create an array to store some values, and we'll know what is the purpose of creating that array. In all those cases, go ahead with named constant. So I say int array size so and so. So I have created array and I have initialized that array. Each element, this is called as initializers, set of initializers. Each element inside this set of initializers will initialize corresponding element inside that particular array. Now this is something which was not possible earlier. Now it is possible in C language. What is special that we are doing? I'm saying int size equal to 5. Array size is not a constant, size is a variable. Such thing did not happen earlier. Now it is allowed. I could runtime ask the user, please enter the size, user enter scanf, I can write over here. So instead of saying value 5 here, I could write a scanf statement. So it could have been something like this as well. Let me just make the changes to that particular statement. I could have written something like this as well over here. So I could have said int this equal to size, or I could have just said something like this also. This was also a possibility. Yeah? I could have just said size is equal to, there is some function I'm calling get array size. So that function will return some integer. Whatever integer has been written will get stored inside this variable, and then the array will get created for whatever size we have specified. So you have a choice. That means you can also specify at runtime what would be the size of an array be. Normally we don't do that, but this is something which was not possible earlier. Now it is possible. So you can also use a variable. The good thing about doing this particular design is you do not really have to bother about the size of the array beforehand. While you're running the program, that time itself you can decide what should be the size. Now, depending on what values have you used, accordingly the array size will change. So at runtime, you can decide what would be the size of an array be. So that is something that we can do with this new particular approach. So I could write a function. That function will ask the user, please enter the size of the array. You enter 5, 10, 15, whatever it is, that value will be returned. that will get stored inside this variable size, and then this array will get created of that particular specified size. So at compile time, I do not know how big this array is, because get array size function will get called when you run the program. Sometimes user may say 5, sometimes he may say 50, and sometimes he may say 100. So whatever is the value that user enters, that value will get stored, and array will get created of that size. It's called as variable length array. But this was not there earlier. It was later provided in C99. Now C99 is also an old story for us, but that's also very popularly used version in the market even today. And after this is C11. That's another very popular, but C99 that allows you. So this is variable length array. So first time you run the code, it was of size 5. Next time it could be of size 50 and so on. But whatever is the size, that means number of variables will get stored at contiguous location. If the first variable is stored at address 510, next will be at address 514. So next will be at address 518 and so on. So all elements will get stored at contiguous memory location. The fact of the matter is, I'll be telling you later, the first will never get stored at 500 and this. So let me just change the addresses. So next would be at 520. So if it is 20, this will be at address 24. And next will be at address 24 है तो 28, and last will be at address 32 से लेके 35 तक. So that's what will happen actually. Okay, and I'll tell you why 510 क्यों नहीं आएगा यहाँ. I'll give an answer to that later. But suppose first is 516, next is 520, next is 524, then 28, and then 32, and so on. But point is, there is a gap of only 4 bytes between them. So this is taking 4 bytes, then this is taking 4 bytes, and so on. There are no gaps in between. They are all stored in contiguous memory location. But the important thing over here was, you could take variable name to specify size of an array. Now, note, I have not specified array size. I'm saying int array empty bracket. So I have not even specified size of an array. I have not specified size of that. Look at this empty bracket. That's possible, provided you have given initializers over here. If I do not give these initializers, so if for some reason, suppose if I skip these initializers, if I don't give this statement would compile time generate an error. Because you cannot create an array without specifying the size. And if you plan to create an array without specifying the size, then we have to give these initializers. So what would the size of this array be? In this case, the size of the array would be equal to the number of initializers, whatever are the number of initializers. So the number of initializers over here are 5. Since we have 5 initializers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, array size will also be 5. So we normally say, if the array size is not specified, the number of initializers determine the size of the array. Had I taken only 4 initializers over here, array would have been size 4. I'm using 4 means 4 variables. In terms of bytes, since it's integer, 4 into 4, that is 16. Right now it's 5 variables, so 5 into 4, that's 20 bytes. Look at that, from 500 से लेके 519 तक. So 20 bytes of memory have now been allocated for that particular variable. 20 bytes have been allocated. So from 500 से लेके 519 तक. Okay, I'll tell you about these addresses. क्या हो सकता है, क्या नहीं हो सकता है, and so on. This is also a possible address नहीं आ सकता है. But anyway, if it is at 500, next is 504. So there is a gap of 4 bytes between those variables and so on. So int array, we are not specify the size. If you do not specify the size, the initializers, number of initializers will determine the size of the array. Now what's the problem? I created int array of 5. I'm saying array is of size 5. So I have specified size. But I have given number of initializers as 2. Here I said the number of initializers determine the size of the array. But that is when you do not specify the size. If I specify the size, the number of initializers will not determine the size of the array. They will only act as initializers. So if I say int array of 5, the first element is initialized with 16, second element is initialized with 8. What about the rest? There are no garbage values. If any element in the array is initialized, rest all elements are set to default value 0. And that is true for all the data type. Int, char, float, double, long, whatever type it may be, double है तो 0.0, float है तो 0.0, character है तो character जिसका ASCII value 0 है. So if you initialize any element inside the array, rest all elements for all types of array will get initialized to value as 0. So we have only 2 initializers. We have over here 5. So there is no conflict. You are saying create an array of size 5 and you have 2 initializers over here. So these 2 initializers will initialize the first 2 elements. The rest of the elements will have value as 0. No garbage value. The first example where we had not given initializers, we had garbage. But now there is a mismatch between the size. if I have to initialize all elements to value 0, we take all set to 0. I say int array of 5 equal to 0. Now when I say int array of 5 equal to 0, all elements inside this array have been set to value 0. Basic idea is the same. You have initialized only the first element to 0, and the rule says if you initialize any element, rest all elements are set to value as 0, and that's how all elements were set to value as 0. So let's take an example. Now before I go to the example, if anybody has a question, please ask. Okay. Now since there's no question, let's take an example. I will take a very simple example that will demonstrate how to handle arrays. How do you go ahead creating arrays? Let's have a look at it. A very simple example is what I'll take. Look at this now. I say hash define size as 10. Here I go. I say hash define size as 10. What is the purpose of this particular program? The purpose of this program is to accept 10 values and display the same. So I'm going to accept 10 values from the user and display the same. But how? Let's say user enters values as 1, 4, 7, 9. I want the output as 9, 7, 4, 1. That means if user gives values as 1, 4, 7, 9, I want them to be displayed in the reverse order. How are we achieving that? Let's have a look at it. I create an array of size 10. Now while I create an array of size 10, what's going to happen? Let's take a simple demonstration. Suppose if I create an array of size 10, how will that array look like? Say there are a group of 10 variables, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. There are a group of 10 variables. This entire group of 10 variables is given a name as ARR, has been given a name as ARR. But all elements in this particular array have a subscript. All elements inside this array have a subscript. Okay, all elements inside this array have a subscript. This is a group of 10 variables. Watch it very carefully. There's a group of 10 variables. All elements inside this array have a subscript. What was subscript? Subscripts indicates position of that element inside that array. So let's, there's a simple diagram that I have taken. So these are say 10 blocks of variables without any gaps. But the first element will have subscript as 0. Next element will have subscript as 1. Next we'll have subscript as 2, and so on and so on. So this is a basic idea how it will have. So we have an array of size 10. So there are a group of 10 variables. The first element has subscript 0, second has 1. Assume these are subscripts. Now we have been asked to accept the values. But I do not want the value. I want the address, because scanf requires address of the variable. So if this is the first variable, currently they will all have garbage value. Let's print that thing and see, because we said earlier that they're going to have garbage value. So first what I'll do is I'll just print the values and show you, since they're going to have all the garbage value. So if I run this particular code and I show you the values, all of them will have garbage values. Look at that. Kahi 0 hai, kahi -1 so and so, kahi so and so, all garbage, unpredictable values. You cannot predict what values will be stored inside that array. So we create an array and we just display the value. We got all garbage value. So what I plan to do is I plan to store some values into them. So what do? I take a for loop. We create an array of size 10. This is the way to define a constant. We said hash define size as 10. And when I use the word size over here, this word size will get replaced with value as 10. This is a pre-processor directive. Before this code goes for the process of compilation, wherever in your program, here, wherever in the program, you have used the word size, that will get replaced with value as 10. Let's cross check that. Say this is the code. I'm going to talk about this. I'm explaining you this hash define statement that defines a constant. So all places in the program, wherever you have defined that constant, that should get replaced. Here we go. We have this particular program that we have created. Let's compile it from the command prompt or from the console. Let me go to the Linux console and compile it. I'll compile that particular code. I'll only create the expanded C source code. So I'll say gcc -e, what's the file name? a.c, and output file I want as -o a.i is what I would like to have. And it says there is no such file. Okay, that's in D drive. So let me go to D drive /mnt/d. And now I write the statement once again. I write that particular statement. Let's see what file has been created over here. So there must be some a.i file that must have got created at that location. So let's open up that a.i file. So I say open, I go to D drive, and I have this a.i file. Let's open this file. And if I scroll down in this particular program, this is expanded C source code. Watch what has happened. Int array of 10. Array, I had said size. What you're getting, what the compiler gets to see is value is 10. Not just that. In the program, here also, I had used the word size. So let's see what is there, 10. Array, in the program, I had used the word size over here and size over here as well. What has the compiler done? A preprocessor done? All occurrence of the word size has been replaced with value 10 in the program. This is the pre-processed code. This is a pre-processed code. So preprocessor carries out operation of preparing the code for the process of compilation. So while it is preparing the code for the process of compilation, so what has it done? In this program, wherever we have used the word size, that's a named constant, all occurrence of that named constant have been replaced with this value as 10. So you and me as a programmer will get to see the name. Compiler will get to see the value that I just now showed you. Compiler will get to see the value, not the name. So this code becomes easy for a person to read. And compiler is not interested in the name, compiler is interested in the value. So compiler will get to see the value. And this was a preprocessor directive. Any statement that begins with a symbol hash is a preprocessor directive. So that is interpreted by the preprocessor. And this replacement has happened even before the code is sent for the process of compilation. Running and compiling a C code. That's the first topic that we had discussed when we started C course. So that is precisely what will happen here. So all occurrence of this word size will be replaced with value as 10. Will be replaced with value as 10. It will be replaced with value as 10. So although you have used the word size here, you and me will get to see the name. So for a programmer who is reading the code, it is easy, and compiler will get to see the value because compiler is interested in the value and not the name. Good thing is tomorrow if I change this value from 10 to 109, I don't have to make changes anywhere in the program. It will automatically get replaced. It will automatically get replaced. That's the reason it is strongly recommended to use these constants rather than you writing everywhere 10, 10, 10 or 5, 5, 5. Tomorrow it changes, then you have to search through the entire program and make that changes. Why do that? Just define a constant. So I define an array of size 10. So while I have defined this array of size 10, something like this has happened. What we are looking at over here, array of size 10 has got created. Array of size 10 has got created. I would like to access individual element inside this array. I could also use a whiteboard and do that. So let's see. If I say counter equal to 0, counter less than size, plus counter, yeah, counter plus. It doesn't really matter. Plus counter just gives you a bit better performance. So I'll say plus counter. The counter value for the first time is 0. What am I saying? Array of counter. Counter value is 0. So while counter value is 0, that means array of 0. We are talking about this first element. Array of 0. We are talking about this first element. We are talking about this first element. Array, but first element ka value nahi chahiye hame. We want to have the address of this particular variable. So if you want to have address, I'm saying array of counter will give me the counter current value is 0. The array of counter, array of 0 will give me the first variable. Array, but scanf requires address. So I'm saying ampersand of that particular variable. So I'm going to get address of that variable. So suppose this variable was stored at some address, this was stored at some other address. So what I'm going to get is the address of those variables. So let's say these were the variables. Let me just increase the block size. Suppose I'll just keep this block as large so that I can type something inside it. And I'll just remove the gaps between them. Say this was my variables. Let's do that. A bit of exercise, but then we don't have a choice. There is no board that I can take up over here and draw a picture for you. Here we go. So we'll just manage somehow. So these are your variables, group of size 10 variables. And inside these 10 variables, there are no gaps between them. We are saying there are no gaps between them. So these are my variables. Here we go. But each of these variables is going to have some address. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some hypothetical address. Some address. We'll just say these are variables and they have some address. I'm just going to take some address just to help you understand. If the first variable was stored, assume, if the first variable was stored, assume at address 300, so next will be at address 304, so next will be at address 308, so next will be at address so on 312, next is 316. Let us take the correct address, what it could actually be the case. Suppose the first one was stored at address 400, next will be at address 404, next to address 408, no gaps in between, 436. But starting from 436, where will it end? It will end till 440, because 439, sorry, 439. So 20 bytes of memory have been allocated. So this was 400 से लेके 403 तक, this was 403 से लेके 400 and 404 से लेके 408 7 तक kind of thing. So last one is at 403 से लेके 439 तक. So that's an array that we have created. That is an array that has now been created. So we have created this array group of variables. We have created this group of variables, and we plan to store some values inside this. So this is assume my array. Assume this is my subscript, and assume these are addresses. Assume these are addresses. So what we have over here, I'll say these are address, and I'll say these are subscripts, and this is my array. And what we'll have over here is the values of that array. So I want to accept the value. If I say array of 0, I'm going to get this garbage value. If I say array of 1, I'm going to get this garbage value. Scanf does not require the name of the variable, it requires address of the variable. So I'll say ampersand of array of 0. Array of 0 will give me the value of the variable. Ampersand will give me the address. So at address 400, I like to store the first value. That is precisely what I'm doing. So I'm saying ampersand of array of counter. Counter ka value for the first time is 0. So array of 0. So in our case, array of 0 is this variable. I'm saying address of the variable. That means at that address, I'm going to store some value. At that address, I'm going to store some value. So one after another, I'll go ahead storing some values. So next time counter becomes 1. Say first time I store value as 11, suppose. So the value 11 will get stored over here. First location I stored value 11. Then counter becomes plus plus, counter becomes 1. 1 less than 10 hai kya? Yes. So I say value number 2. For the first time when the counter value is 0, I said value number 1. The reason for that is you and me as a C programmer, it's okay for us saying first element subscript is 0. But for the user, you say this is the 0th value. He will wonder, we never start in the real life counting from 0. We normally in the real life start counting from 1. So just to help it, make it easy for the user to display, when counter was 0, in the statement we'll say counter value number 1, but actually counter value is 0. When counter becomes 1, we'll say value number 2. And here we'll say ampersand of array of 1, counter value is still 1. So when I say array of 1 will give this variable ka value. I'm saying ampersand of that means this address. So scanf will store value at this location. Say next number user gives us 20. So first value stored here, second value stored here. Then we proceed further. Counter now becomes 2. 2 is less than 10. Yes. So we say please enter value number 3. I say array of 2, and then I say address. So likewise, we'll go ahead storing value of all the variables. So next time I store 20, then here I store suppose 14. I'm going to store some random values. I'm storing some random values. Or let's store them in a sequence. Say I store 20, then I store suppose 50, then I store some 50. Suppose I store 50, and here I store suppose 70. Whatever order I would like to. Then I take over here 80. Suppose if I take over here as 80. I take over here value as 80, suppose. That's just up to you what value you would like to store. So that's about the value I'm trying to store. And here, suppose if I store for the 6th location, this became 3rd, 4th, and this is my 5th variable. Array of 5. Array of 5 is the 6th variable. Ampersand of array of 5 means its address. At this address, I store the next value. Say after 80, I store 90. Suppose if I store value as 90. So I stored 11, 20, 50, 70, 80, 90, and so on. And then next variable I store value as suppose 77. And the next variable I store value suppose as, so this value. The 7th location I store value as 55, suppose. Whatever the values will be. Next location I store value as 66. I'm just storing some random values. And the last location say I store value as 45. These are values that I have stored. So one after another, we have gone ahead storing values at different locations. So this was the next location, this was the next location, and so on. Here we go. So that's how we have stored the values. So these are arrays, and inside the array we have stored the values. Now that we have stored the values inside this array, when we run out of this loop, I come out and I want to display them in the reverse order. So I say the values in the reverse order are, I say counter is equal to size minus 1. Size ka value is 10. 10 minus 1 becomes 9. Then I check, is 9 greater than 0? Yes. If 9 is greater than 0, I say value number counter plus 1. Counter ka value currently is 9. 9 plus 1 becomes 10. Is equal to %d array of counter. So when I say array of counter, I'll get array of 9. So array of 9 is this particular value 45. After that, I say minus minus counter. So if I say minus minus counter, the counter value will get decremented by 1. Counter now becomes 8. 8 is greater than or equal to 0. Yes. I'll say value number 9. Counter plus 1. 8 plus 1. 9. Array of 8. So what will array of 8 give me? Array of, this is my array. This is my array. 8 subscript value kya hai? 66. So I'll get the value that is 66. Next time when I say array of 7, so I'll get array of 7, then array of 6, then array of 5, then array of 4, then array of 3, array of 2, array of 1, array of 0. Likewise, I will be in a position to access all elements inside that particular array, one after another. So we have accepted the elements and we have displayed them in the reverse order what we have keyed in. So what is the order in which you have entered the elements? We are displaying them in the reverse order. So if I had accepted the values, I'm just displaying them in the reverse order. We have achieved that. Here, 8th value also we had some value. Suppose it was value as 12. Suppose there could have been any value that we have to store. It's totally your choice. So let's run this code and see, is that what really happens? Let's run this code and see, is that what really happens? Okay, I hope this diagram you understand. So let's run this code. And I'll also show you what's there in the memory. So I'll start debugging the code from this location. From this location. Pay attention, everybody. And now we'll see in the memory what is happening. We have said int array of size. Now, moment you say int array of size, an array will get created. Let's see what's the name of the array. We had an array called as ARR. Window debugging variables. So we have two variables. One is array, another is counter. Watch it. This array has 10 variables. Watch it very carefully. Array of 0 mein garbage. Array of 1 mein 1. Array of 2 mein some garbage. Array of 3 mein garbage. All these are garbage values which are there. So array of 0, the first element inside the array. Array of 9, last element inside this array. And all of them, these are the values inside those elements. All of them are currently having garbage values. Watch it very carefully. All of them are currently having garbage values. Let's proceed further. Then I say, please enter values. I am running a loop. I say counter ka value 0. Look at this, the counter is currently having garbage value. Now counter ka value becomes 0. I say, please enter value number counter plus 1. And I ask the user to enter the value. Look at the message. We're saying, please enter value number 1. Although you are saying value number 1, let's have a look at that variable. Counter ka value. Counter ka value is even 0 only. Counter is even now 0. The value of counter has not changed. What is this? If I look at this variable counter, its value currently is 0. This variable counter, if you look at the bottom, its value is currently 0. So it's array of 0. Say I enter the first value. Say I enter first value as 30. Let's go and see what has happened in the array. Look at that. Array of 0, what has got stored is value is 30. Array of 0, what value has got stored is 30. Then counter plus plus. Counter now becomes 1. Counter now becomes 1. We come inside the loop. We say value number 2. We are saying value number 2. We'll say value number 2. We are saying value number 2. I enter next value as 40. Suppose if I enter next value as 40. So on, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead accepting 10 values, one after another. So I'll just run this code till here. I go on to accept one values after another. Here we go. So I have accepted the next value, that is 20. After 20 comes in. After 20 comes in the next value. So I accept the next value, suppose 50. Then I say 60. Then I say 70. Oh, I typed the wrong value. Maybe 80. And then 90. And then 12. And then 14. 9 values I accepted. 10th value I have not accepted. Let's see inside the array what has happened. Let's come out of the loop and see. It is currently not showing. Anyway, it will show. And then I accept the next value, suppose that's 66, and I come out of this loop. So when I come out of this loop, let's see what has happened. We come out of this loop. Here we go. Let's see what has got stored inside that array. If you look at that, same value, 30, 40, 50, 60, 60, 80, 90, 12, 14, 66, 10, all values have got stored. All values have got stored. So all elements have got stored inside that array. And counter ka value dekho, currently 10 hai. And because the counter value is 10, we have come out of that loop. Why we have come out of the loop? Because counter ka value is 10. Okay, because the value of counter is 10. Here, we had said counter less than size. We had said counter less than size. Size was 10. 10 less than 10 hai, false hai. We have come out of the loop. Now I'm saying counter is equal to size minus 1. Watch it. Counter ka value currently is 10. I'm saying counter is equal to size minus 1. So counter is equal to size minus 1. So counter will now become 9. Watch it, everybody. counter now becomes 9. Can you see that at the bottom? Counter has now become 9. So now I'm saying array of counter, array of 9. What's value of array of 9? Watch it. Array of 9 may we have 66. So that is the value that should get printed. So we say values are, we are still in our program. Let's see what gets printed. Oh, I print F7. So we are going into printf ka code. Let's just quickly come out. That was printf ka code. Let me just run that code once again. Let me just debug that code once again. Debug project. I'll access some values inside that array. Here we go. I'll jump from here. We plan to display the values. So I'll jump over here and I'll start from this point. Here we go. It says please enter the first value. I entered 10, next is 20, next is 30, next is 40, 50, 60, 77, 88, 99, and 11. These are the values that I have accepted. Let me directly run the program. Then I say counter equal to size minus 1. Counter equal to size minus 1. So counter now becomes 9. So when counter becomes 9, so value at the 9th location, that is 45. Then at the 8th location. Why? Because in this loop, I'm always decrementing the value of counter by 1. So I will go on decrementing till the counter does not become 0 or minus 1. So how am I starting? So I'm starting with array of 9, array of 8, array of 7, array of 6, array of 5. Now likewise, I come till the 0. And after this array, the counter becomes minus 1. Minus 1 is greater than or equal to 0, false. We come out of the loop. So while we come out of the loop, the values will have been displayed. So let's run this program directly. I enter first value as 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 66, 77, 88, and 99, and 11. And while we display, values have got displayed exactly in the reverse order. 10th value is 11, 99, 88, 77, 66, 50, 10, 30, 20, and 10. Values have got displayed in the reverse order. So this example was just to show you how to accept values inside an array and how to display. And the purpose was if I had to do the same operation, you couldn't do 10 variables. And if I wanted to do it 10 different variables, you'll have to create 10 different variables, A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, okay? You'll have to accept this by writing 10 different statements, and then you'll have to print them one after another after you have accepted. Quite a lengthy code, So in that case, we have avoided this by using for loops. This loop iterates over the array, wherein we are accepting values inside that array by using scanf. This loop iterates over array while we are displaying the elements of that particular array. And this is just an introduction. Huh? We have actually not gone ahead. It is just an introduction, just to show you how we can write it. What's happening internally is what I want yet to be discussed. But this is just to show you how it actually works. Without using array, this code would have been very, very lengthy. So we stored elements in ascending order and we displayed the elements in descending order. That means we started from the first position, went till the 10th position. Here we are starting from the 10th position, coming till the 0th position. So we have accessed element inside that array. Thank you all. So we stop here today and we continue with a further discussion. Next session is again going to be a deep dive into some advanced concepts.